Have you ever wondered how many classic Hollywood stars were actually of mixed heritage? During cinema's golden age, many actors felt pressured to hide their roots to fit the narrow expectations of studio executives and audiences. Some even changed their names or altered their appearances in order to get roles. Yet these individuals broke boundaries simply by existing in an industry not designed to accept them. They challenged stereotypes, opened doors for future generations, and reshaped Hollywood, often behind the scenes. In this video, we're uncovering 30 biracial old Hollywood actors who broke barriers. Some you may recognize immediately. Legends like Rita Hayworth, whose Spanish heritage was disguised by a studio makeover, or Anthony Quinn, who fought to bring nuanced, multi-ethnic characters to the screen. Others, like Merle Oberon, carefully guarded their background, afraid their careers would end if the truth became public. Merle Oberon, Anglo-Indian. Would you hide your true heritage if it meant the difference between stardom and obscurity? Merle Oberon, born Estelle Merle O'Brien Thompson, rose to fame in the 1930s, captivating audiences with her elegance and dramatic talent. She scored prominent roles in films like The Dark Angel in 1935, for which she received an Oscar nomination, and Wuthering Heights in 1939, where she played the haunting Kathy, opposite Laurence Olivier. Behind the scenes, Oberon lived with a closely guarded secret. She was Anglo-Indian, born in Mumbai, then Bombay, India, to a mother of mixed Sinhalese and Maori heritage, and a British father. Fearing racial prejudice, her publicity teams crafted an alternate narrative about her origins, claiming she was born in Tasmania or Australia. She wore lightning makeup and worked diligently on her accent to maintain the facade. Even close friends were rarely aware of her true background. Despite the enormous pressure to pass as white, Oberon shattered barriers by becoming one of the first actresses of Asian descent to achieve international fame. Her success served as a small but significant crack in Hollywood's color line. Today, she's remembered not only for her magnetic performances, but for the complicated choices she made to protect her career in an era of harsh racial discrimination. Rita Hayworth, Spanish, English-Irish. How did a young dancer named Margarita Carmen Cancino become Hollywood's ultimate bombshell? Born in Brooklyn to a Spanish father and an American mother of English-Irish descent, Rita Hayworth began her show business journey under her birth name, Margarita Carmen Cancino. As a teen, she performed in her father's dance troupe, demonstrating a natural talent that soon caught the eye of film producers. But when she arrived in Hollywood, studios deemed her too ethnic for mainstream stardom. In a dramatic transformation, her hairline was raised through painful electrolysis, and her naturally dark hair was dyed a vibrant red. She adopted the stage name Rita Hayworth, presenting a more all-American image that became the standard for 1940s glamour. Her breakout roles in Blood and Sand in 1941 and Gilda in 1946 cemented her place as one of the era's top pinup icons. Despite her outward success, Hayworth often spoke about feeling conflicted over how much she had to change. Her story highlights the immense pressure biracial and Latinx actors faced to hide or alter their heritage. Still, she opened doors for later Latina stars, proving that audiences craved talent and star power, even if Hollywood executives tried to suppress the performer's true identity. Anthony Quinn, Mexican, Irish. What if your ethnicity led to typecasting, but also gave you the versatility to portray characters from nearly every background? Anthony Quinn, born in Chihuahua, Mexico, to a Mexican father of indigenous ancestry and an Irish-Mexican mother, became one of Hollywood's most dynamic and versatile actors. He moved to the United States during his childhood and took on all sorts of odd jobs before finding his footing in movies. Initially, Hollywood cast him as the stereotypical foreigner, whether an Arab sheik, a Native American warrior, or a Pacific Islander chief. Over time, Quinn's raw talent shone through the typecasting. He won 2 Academy Awards for Best Supporting Actor, first for Viva Zapata in 1952, where he portrayed the brother of revolutionary Emiliano Zapata, and then for Lust for Life in 1956, playing painter Paul Gauguin. His most iconic role came in Zorba the Greek in 1964, which showcased his uncontainable energy and set the standard for joyful, larger-than-life performances. In an era when actors of color were often relegated to the margins, Quinn's success as a leading man was groundbreaking. He prided himself on representing his Mexican heritage, even as Hollywood tried to fit him into any exotic role available. His career proved that a biracial actor could span multiple cultures, and, in doing so, transcend barriers that had once seemed impossible to break. Eartha Kitt, African-American Cherokee German. Could a performer with a voice that purrs like a cat transform from farm laborer to international star? Eartha Kitt was born in South Carolina under difficult circumstances. Her mother was of African-American and Cherokee descent, and her father was white. She grew up in poverty, picking cotton on a plantation. But her talent for singing, dancing, and comedic timing became her passport out of hardship. Kitt's big break came in the Parisian cabaret scene, where her distinctive voice and coquettish style captivated audiences. She soon caught the attention of Orson Welles, who famously called her the most exciting woman in the world. Roles in Broadway productions and Hollywood films followed. Her portrayal of Catwoman in the 1960s Batman TV series remains iconic, showcasing her feline grace and mischievous charm. Yet Eartha Kitt's multiracial background and outspoken nature often placed her at odds with Hollywood. She bravely confronted racial barriers and refused to let industry stereotypes define her. In later years, she also faced blacklisting after criticizing the Vietnam War at a White House luncheon. Despite the setbacks, Kitt's career spanned 6 decades, proving that a unique voice, both literally and figuratively, can resonate through generations and break down the walls of prejudice. Dorothy Dandridge, African-American, European ancestry. What does it take to be the first African-American to earn a Best Actress Oscar nomination? When the system is stacked against you? Born in Cleveland, Ohio, Dorothy Dandridge had African-American and possible European heritage on both sides of her family. Growing up, she performed in a singing duo with her sister, often struggling to find acceptance in clubs that still operated under Jim Crow-style segregation. Her beauty and charisma eventually caught Hollywood's eye, but meaningful roles for black actresses were few and far between. Dandridge's historic moment came with Carmen Jones in 1954, a modernized all-black adaptation of the opera Carmen. Her sultry performance dazzled critics and audiences, making her the first African-American woman nominated for a Best Actress Academy Award. Despite this breakthrough, Hollywood continued to confine her to stereotypical parts, and she turned down multiple roles that she felt demeaned her. Off-screen, Dandridge faced financial woes, marital difficulties, and the stress of raising a daughter with special needs. Tragically, she passed away at just 42 from an accidental overdose. Yet her legacy endures as a pioneer who shattered ceilings for black actresses in mainstream film. She set the stage for future generations, proving that women of color, including those with a mixed-race background, could carry a film and captivate the world. Lena Horne, African-American, Native American, European. How does a nightclub singer from Brooklyn become one of the highest-paid black entertainers in the world, while Hollywood tries to hide her potential? Lena Horne grew up in an African-American family, with recognized Native American and European ancestry in her lineage. Her rich cultural background and striking beauty helped her rise to fame as a nightclub singer in the famed Cotton Club. MGM soon noticed her talent, signing Horne to a contract in the early 1940s, an extraordinary move for a black performer at that time. Though Horne appeared in films like Stormy Weather in 1943 and Cabin in the Sky in 1943, The studio often sidestepped her in integrated musicals. Her movie segments were frequently shot, so they could be easily edited out for screenings in segregated regions of the country. Despite possessing star-quality presence, she never received a lead role in a mainstream Hollywood musical on par with white actresses. Horne's fight against racism went beyond the screen. She was outspoken about civil rights, refusing to perform for segregated audiences in World War II military shows. Over the following decades, her sultry voice and radiant on-camera persona turned her into a cultural icon. She challenged racial barriers simply by existing in a world that rarely welcomed her. Lena Horne's triumphs laid the foundation for future generations of mixed heritage performers to demand and deserve equal opportunity. Sammy Davis Jr., Afro-Cuban, African-American. Can one entertainer's show-stopping charisma overcome decades of racism and even the mob's control over the Las Vegas Strip? Born in Harlem, Sammy Davis Jr. was the son of an African-American mother and an Afro-Cuban father, both vaudeville performers. He practically grew up on stage, singing and dancing from the time he could walk. By his teen years, Davis was touring with the Will Maston Trio. His extraordinary tap dancing and comedic timing soon made him the group's standout star. Davis's rise to fame escalated when he joined Frank Sinatra's Rat Pack. Despite social barriers, he became one of the first black entertainers to headline major casino venues in Las Vegas, though he still faced segregation. In some cases, he was forced to enter through kitchen doors, while white guests strolled through the front lobby. Yet, Davis's multi-talented skill set and boundless charm made him an unstoppable force. He starred in films like Ocean's 11 in 1960, alongside Sinatra and Dean Martin, breaking into an industry that offered few leading roles to men of color. His willingness to cross racial lines in public, such as his controversial interracial marriage to Swedish actress May Britt, sparked fierce backlash. But Sammy Davis Jr. refused to be limited, forging a path that would widen possibilities for biracial and black performers in the decades that followed. Harry Belafonte, Jamaican, Scottish descent. What happens when a smooth, melodic calypso singer becomes Hollywood's first true black matinee idol? Harry Belafonte was born in Harlem to a Jamaican mother of mixed African and Scottish ancestry and a Jamaican father. He spent part of his childhood on the island, absorbing the Caribbean rhythms that later shaped his music. When Belafonte returned to the U.S., he discovered theater and began studying acting alongside legends like Sidney Poitier. His music career exploded in the 1950s with the success of Calypso, the first LP in the world to sell over 1 million copies. Songs like Day-O became instant classics. Hollywood soon came calling, and Belafonte starred in films such as Carmen Jones in 1954 and Island in the Sun in 1957, the latter of which dealt directly with interracial romance, highly controversial at the time. Belafonte wasn't just a singer or actor. He was also a dedicated civil rights activist. He worked closely with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., using his fame and fortune to fund the movement. In an era that offered few substantial roles to black or mixed-race actors, Belafonte carved out a space on the big screen and contributed to social change. His elegant presence and unwavering conscience continue to inspire artists who see themselves reflected in his pioneering path. Carmen Miranda, Portuguese, Brazilian. Could a performer known for wearing towering fruit hats also be a groundbreaking cultural ambassador? Born in Portugal to Portuguese parents, Carmen Miranda moved to Brazil as an infant. Growing up in Rio de Janeiro, she quickly became a star in Brazilian radio and musical theater with her vibrant samba rhythms. Her biracial or multi-ethnic identity is sometimes debated. Portuguese is European, and Brazilian identity can involve indigenous, African, and European elements. But Miranda's experience bridging two cultures, Portuguese and Brazilian, was unique in Hollywood. Discovered by a Broadway producer in the late 1930s, Miranda brought her infectious energy to the United States. She soon signed with 20th Century Fox, appearing in musicals like Down Argentine Way in 1940 and That Night in Rio in 1941. Her flamboyant costumes and lively performances delighted audiences, earning her the nickname, the Brazilian Bombshell. However, Miranda's Hollywood image leaned heavily on a stylized Latin persona, blending various South American cultures into a single caricature. While this typecasting frustrated her, she used her platform to champion Brazilian music and dance worldwide. Over time, she opened doors for other performers of Latin American heritage. Despite the stereotypes, Carmen Miranda's bold presence remains an early example of how one person can both enchant American audiences and honor her international roots. Carol Channing, African American/European. Imagine being a Broadway icon who kept a life-changing secret about your racial background until late in life. The legendary Broadway star Carol Channing, famous for musicals like Hello, Dolly and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, was born in Seattle to a white mother and a father of mixed African American and German descent. For much of her career, Channing didn't publicly discuss her father's heritage, which could have caused significant hurdles in an era rampant with segregation and narrow casting. Known for her distinctive gravelly voice, wide-eyed stage presence, and comedic timing, Channing captured America's heart in the 1940s and beyond. She won numerous accolades, including a Tony Award for her role in Hello, Dolly. Yet behind the bright lights, her father's racial identity remained a carefully guarded family matter. Channing later revealed she learned about it as a teenager, feeling both proud and protective about it. When her mixed background finally came to light later in her life, many fans expressed surprise, but Channing herself believed her father's heritage enhanced her performance style and comedic flair. Her acceptance in predominantly white Broadway and Hollywood circles was itself a quietly revolutionary act. By simply existing at the top of her field, Carol Channing cracked a door that had long been locked to many aspiring performers of color. Fredi Washington, African American, Irish. Could a fair-skinned black actress challenge the film industry's stereotypes by refusing to pass as white? Born in Savannah, Georgia, Fredi Washington had an African American father and a mother of African American and Irish descent. Her strikingly light complexion allowed her to pass for white, yet Washington chose not to hide her black identity. She became an accomplished stage performer and actress during the 1920s and 1930s, a rarity for black actresses who often faced limited opportunities. Her most notable film role was in Imitation of Life in 1934, where she portrayed a young black woman who tries to pass as white, mirroring Washington's real-life dilemma. Despite delivering a moving performance, she struggled to find additional roles that didn't reduce her to a racial cliché. The reality was that Hollywood had little space for a mixed-race actress who openly identified as black. Rather than continue pursuing a stagnant film career, Washington dedicated herself to activism. She co-founded the Negro Actors Guild of America, fighting for better opportunities and fair treatment. Though her time in Hollywood was brief, she stands as an early trailblazer who remained true to her heritage, even when it cost her roles. Her legacy underscores how biracial actors often wrestled with identity in an unforgiving studio system. Nancy Kwan, Chinese-Scottish. Could a ballet-trained dancer from Hong Kong become the face of Asian romance in 1960s Hollywood? Nancy Kwan was born in Hong Kong to a Chinese father, an architect, and a Scottish mother. She studied ballet in England and quickly gained attention for her graceful poise. In 1960, director Ray Stark discovered Kwan and cast her in The World of Susie Wong, catapulting her to stardom. A year later, she solidified her place in Hollywood history with Flower Drum Song in 1961, one of the first major studio musicals centered on an Asian American cast. Kwan's mixed heritage allowed her to navigate Western and Eastern cultural norms with ease, though she faced stereotyping and a limited range of roles. Often relegated to romantic leads who embodied exoticism, she became an iconic figure for Asian representation in mainstream film. Her success also challenged the narrow portrayals of Asian women as mere side characters or caricatures. Off-screen, Kwan became an ambassador of sorts for bridging cultural gaps. She worked to promote better understanding of Asian heritage in America, discussing her biracial background openly. Nancy Kwan's career served as a stepping stone for more nuanced roles for Asian and mixed-race actors, proving that Hollywood audiences could embrace a leading lady who wasn't strictly part of the white Hollywood mold. Cesar Romero, Cuban, Italian. How does a suave Latin dancer become the Joker and still maintain a reputation as Hollywood's Latin from Manhattan? Born in New York City, Cesar Romero had a Cuban mother and an Italian father, a heritage that bestowed him with a distinctively glamorous appeal. Known early on as the Latin lover, Romero started in Broadway musicals and became a dancer for elite society parties before being scooped up by Hollywood in the 1930s. He initially played dashing leading men and romantic foils in films like The Thin Man series and Weekend in Havana, showcasing his refined manners and comedic timing. When the Golden Age musicals waned, he reinvented himself, perhaps most famously as the Joker in the 1960s Batman TV series, a role that introduced his flamboyant laughter and iconic face paint to a new generation. Despite the era's limited casting for Latino actors, Romero's tall stature, charming mustache, and polished persona landed him in dozens of movies and TV shows over a long career. He navigated a Hollywood that wanted exotic types while still managing to preserve his dignity and comedic talents. Cesar Romero's affable screen presence helped break stereotypes, demonstrating that a biracial actor could thrive in various genres, from musical comedy to zany superhero fare. Maria Montez, Spanish, you're Dominican. What if you were dubbed the Caribbean Cyclone and cast in Technicolor fantasies that transported wartime audiences? Known as the Queen of Technicolor, Maria Montez was born in the Dominican Republic to a Spanish consul father and a mother of mixed Dominican heritage. She moved to the United States in her early 20s, determined to become a film star, an ambitious goal for a Latina actress in the early 1940s. Universal Pictures recognized her exotic beauty and cast her in a series of fantastical, escapist films during World War II. Titles such as Arabian Nights in 1942, Cobra Woman in 1944, and Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves in 1944 showcased Montez's flair for glamour and over-the-top drama. Although these roles often pigeonholed her as a sultry, larger-than-life enchantress, they made her an international sensation. Soldiers abroad adored her colorful, adventurous characters, providing much-needed escapism during wartime. Montez's popularity peaked in the mid-1940s, though typecasting limited her opportunities to expand beyond the exotic persona. Still, her success was notable for a biracial Dominican actress in an industry that rarely welcomed Afro-Latin or multi-ethnic stars. Her legacy endures as a testament to how sheer charisma and determination can break through the rigid and often xenophobic norms of old Hollywood. Lupe Velez, Mexican, Spanish, Indigenous. Could a fiery persona on and off the screen turn a small-town dancer from Mexico into a Hollywood sensation? Born in San Luis Potosí, Mexico, Lupe Velez had a mixed heritage of Spanish and Indigenous ancestry. She started as a dancer in Mexican vaudeville before pursuing a Hollywood career in the late 1920s. Nicknamed the Mexican Spitfire, Velez's bold personality and comedic talent earned her leading roles in early talkies, such as The Girl from Mexico in 1939, and the ensuing Mexican Spitfire film series. Unlike some Latina actresses who were pressured to disguise their heritage, Velez leaned into her accent and fiery temperament, creating a signature comedic style that charmed U.S. audiences. She also tested cultural boundaries. Her on-screen persona mixed humor and sensuality, at a time when Latina actresses were often confined to minor, stereotypical roles. Off-screen, Velez's tumultuous personal life and love affairs, most notably with actor Gary Cooper, kept her in the headlines. Her untimely death in 1944 at age 36 became shrouded in gossip and rumor. Yet, she remains a key figure who helped open the door for future Latina stars. By refusing to tone down her accent or persona, Velez blurred the lines of what Hollywood deemed acceptable for a biracial or Latin performer. Dolores del Rio, Mexican, Spanish. What if the most elegant woman in Hollywood came from Mexico, only to redefine beauty standards across two nations? Hailed as one of the most beautiful actresses of her era, Dolores del Rio was born in Durango, Mexico, to a family of Spanish heritage with possible indigenous lineage. She entered Hollywood in the 1920s, scoring roles in silent films like Joanna in 1925 and What Price Glory in 1926. When talkies emerged, her slight accent didn't hinder her success. Instead, she became one of the first major Latina stars, transitioning flawlessly into sound pictures. Del Rio's poise and refined features challenged the stereotypical portrayal of Mexican women as purely exotic or comedic. She navigated a tricky studio system that wanted to market her exotic appeal, while also longing to position her as a sophisticated leading lady. Films such as Flying Down to Rio in 1933 and Madame du Barry in 1934 showcased her regal charisma. After leaving Hollywood in the early 1940s, Del Rio returned to Mexico and took part in the nation's golden age of cinema. She starred in acclaimed films like Maria Candelaria in 1943, further elevating her status as an international icon. Dolores del Rio's graceful screen presence and cultural duality bridged North and Latin American cinema, inspiring generations of biracial and Latinx performers to pursue global success. Anita Page, Salvadoran, American. Could a silent film ingenue with Salvadoran roots become one of Hollywood's biggest box office draws by age 17? Born in Queens, New York, Anita Page was the daughter of an American mother and a father originally from El Salvador. She arrived in Hollywood during the late silent era, quickly capturing attention for her youthful beauty and expressive eyes. By the late 1920s, Page was working under contract for MGM, starring alongside major names like Joan Crawford and Buster Keaton. In 1928, she had a breakout role in Our Dancing Daughters, sharing the screen with Crawford. The film's success propelled her to stardom, and she became one of MGM's most popular young actresses. During the transition to sound, Page's soft voice proved suitable, and she continued to thrive in films like Free and Easy in 1930 and The Broadway Melody in 1929, which won the Best Picture Oscar. However, like many actresses of the era, Page faced diminishing roles in the mid-1930s. She eventually left the industry in 1936, citing the lack of quality scripts. Though seldom highlighted for her Salvadoran heritage, Anita Page's early achievements showed that a biracial background need not be a barrier to success. She stood out as a silent-turned-talkie star who briefly burned bright before stepping away from the limelight on her own terms. Tura Satana, Japanese, Filipino, Cheyenne, Scots-Irish. How did a young woman from a multi-ethnic background become an icon of cult cinema, while karate-kicking Hollywood stereotypes? Tura Satana was born in 1938 to a silent film Japanese-Filipino father and a Cheyenne Scots-Irish mother. During World War II, her family was placed in a Japanese-American internment camp, an experience that scarred her childhood, but later fueled her determination. She eventually found her way to Los Angeles, working as a dancer and burlesque performer. Satana's fierce presence drew the attention of independent director Russ Meyer, who cast her in Faster Pussycat, Kill Kill in 1965. As the leather-clad leader of a gang of go-go dancers, Satana's character, Varla, exuded an aggressive sexuality and confident dominance rarely seen in female roles of the era, especially from a biracial woman. She performed her own stunts, choreographed her fight scenes, and, by all accounts, controlled her image with an iron will. Although her filmography remained limited, Tura Satana's cult status skyrocketed. She became a feminist and pop culture icon decades later, lauded for her audacity and physical empowerment on screen. In a Hollywood that sidelined many actresses of color, she seized a unique niche that celebrated her multi-ethnic heritage and powerful persona, proving that women who didn't fit the typical mold could still captivate audiences and inspire future generations. Nina Mae McKinney, African-American Cherokee. Could a groundbreaking performer dubbed the Black Garbo truly get the recognition she deserved in segregated Hollywood? Born in 1912 in Lancaster, South Carolina, Nina Mae McKinney claimed mixed African-American and Cherokee ancestry. She gained her first major role in King Vidor's Hallelujah in 1929, a pioneering all-black musical. Her dynamic singing and dancing astonished critics, who dubbed her the Black Garbo for her emotive screen presence. McKinney's talent led to a contract with MGM, making her one of the first African-American performers to sign a long-term studio deal. Unfortunately, the roles offered to black actresses in the early 1930s were scarce and typically stereotypical. Despite her trailblazing contract, she seldom received starring parts in Hollywood productions. Refusing to be sidelined, McKinney moved to Europe, where she found better opportunities in cabaret and film. She also performed for U.S. troops during World War II. Yet her name never achieved the widespread fame it deserved back in America. The color line remained rigid, limiting her chances at stardom. Nonetheless, Nina Mae McKinney remains a crucial figure in cinema history. Ethel Waters, African-American/European. How does a hotel chambermaid become the second African-American ever to receive an Oscar nomination? Born in Chester, Pennsylvania, Ethel Waters was the child of an African-American mother who had been assaulted at age 13. Her father's identity remains less clear, though some reports indicate mixed European ancestry. Waters endured an unstable childhood, working menial jobs before discovering her talent for singing. She soared to fame in the 1920s on the vaudeville circuit, becoming a blues and jazz sensation. By the 1930s, Waters was headlining at Harlem's Cotton Club and starring on Broadway. Hollywood soon beckoned, and she appeared in films like On with the Show in 1929 and Cabin in the Sky in 1943. It was her dramatic role in Pinky in 1949, playing a mother whose daughter passes as white, that earned her a Best Supporting Actress Oscar nomination, making her the second African-American to be so honored. Waters' multifaceted career included major breakthroughs in radio and television, at a time when few roles existed for black or biracial entertainers. Despite facing an industry rife with prejudice, she used her vocal prowess and dramatic skills to challenge stereotypes, leaving an indelible mark on music and film. Her journey underscores the resilience of mixed-race artists in the face of systemic obstacles. Theresa Harris, African-American Creole European. Could a supporting actress who never rose to lead status still be one of Hollywood's most quietly influential pioneers? Theresa Harris, born in Houston, Texas, in 1906, came from a Louisiana Creole background, which often blended African, French, Spanish, and Native American ancestry. She moved to California, seeking opportunities for film at a time when women of color were primarily given maid or servant roles. Yet Harris's talent and versatility allowed her to stand out in a wide variety of films. She landed her first uncredited role in Thunderbolt in 1929, directed by Joseph von Sternberg. Over the next 3 decades, she accumulated over 80 film credits, working alongside major stars like Barbara Stanwyck in Babyface in 1933, and Ginger Rogers in Professional Sweetheart in 1933. Known for her elegance and clear melodic speaking voice, Harris often stole scenes even when relegated to smaller parts. Although typecasting limited her leading lady potential, Harris openly criticized Hollywood's systemic racism, yearning for the same variety of roles that white actresses enjoyed. Her steady presence helped normalize the visibility of black and mixed-race actresses in mainstream cinema. While Theresa Harris is not a household name today, her persistent pursuit of dignified roles quietly cracked the door wider for future generations of biracial and black performers in Hollywood. Josephine Baker, African American, possibly Indigenous European. How did a young entertainer from St. Louis become a global sensation and a war hero, while Hollywood barely took notice? Josephine Baker was born Frida Josephine McDonald in 1906 in St. Louis, Missouri, to an African American mother and a father of mixed heritage. Baker skyrocketed to fame in the 1920s Paris for her mesmerizing dance routines and uninhibited style, epitomized by her famous banana skirt in the Revue Negre. While she briefly appeared in a few silent films, mainstream Hollywood didn't know how to handle her bold, sensual persona and multi-ethnic background. After traveling Europe, Baker also worked for the French Resistance during World War II, smuggling secret messages and entertaining Allied troops. Post-war, she became a leading voice in the U.S. civil rights movement, often refusing to perform for segregated audiences. Though adored in Europe, Baker struggled to find the same acceptance in American film. She turned down subservient roles that she felt demeaned her. Yet her flamboyant style, unwavering pride, and philanthropic efforts made her an icon beyond the silver screen. Josephine Baker stands as an enduring example that sometimes it's the world, not the performer, that isn't ready, proving she broke more barriers than Hollywood could even recognize at the time. Freddie Prinze Sr., Puerto Rican/German. What if a young comic's meteoric rise in the 1970s hinted at the last flashes of old Hollywood's glitz and a foretaste of modern television stardom? Though on the cusp of old Hollywood and modern TV, Freddie Prinze Sr. merits mention for breaking barriers as a biracial actor and comedian. Born in New York City in 1954, he had a Puerto Rican mother and a German father. Prinze was discovered young, quickly becoming a fixture at comedy clubs like the Improv. At just 19, he earned a starring role in the NBC sitcom Chico and the Man in 1974 to 1978, playing a charming Chicano youth opposite Jack Albertson. Prince's blend of sharp wit and cultural humor resonated at a time when Hispanic representation on television was scarce. He also dabbled in film appearances, though his true impact was felt on the small screen, where he challenged mainstream assumptions about Latin identities. Beyond comedic genius, Prince's personal life battled depression and substance abuse. Tragically, he died by suicide at the age of 22, cutting short a groundbreaking career. Even if Prince didn't fit squarely into the black and white golden age mold, he inherited its legacy of gatekeeping and prejudice. His success opened doors for future Latino comedians and actors, proving that American audiences were ready for mixed-race stars who celebrated their cultural heritage with humor and authenticity. Elvis Presley, Scottish, English, French, and rumored Cherokee. Could the king of rock and roll also carry indigenous American roots and become a movie star in the Golden Age's twilight? Although primarily known as a musician, Elvis Presley starred in over 30 feature films between 1956 and 1972, placing him within the tail end of classic Hollywood studio era. Born in Tupelo, Mississippi in 1935, Presley was of predominantly Scottish, English, and French ancestry. He also grew up hearing family rumors of Cherokee lineage through his maternal side, though never fully documented. Elvis's biracial or multi-ethnic background wasn't widely highlighted, and he was usually framed as an all-American Southern boy. Still, He brought an eclectic cultural mix to his music, blending gospel, country, and R&B influences that often originated in black communities. His good looks and hip-shaking dance moves translated well to movies like Jailhouse Rock in 1957 and Viva Las Vegas in 1964. Despite criticism that his film roles were light on substance, Elvis's screen presence and global fanbase introduced a new wave of musical cinema. He navigated a Hollywood that occasionally tried to mold him into a conventional leading man, ignoring the complexity of his background. While he never openly identified as biracial, the swirl of cultural influences around him contributed to a unique persona that still resonates, even decades after his passing. Cher, Armenian, English, French, German. Is it possible for a half-Armenian, half-European singer to become one of Hollywood's most celebrated triple threats? Cherilyn Sarkisian, born in 1946 in California, had an Armenian-American father and a mother of European ancestry. Cher's initial fame came from her singing duo with Sonny Bono in the mid-1960s. I Got You, Babe catapulted her into stardom. But she soon ventured into television variety shows and, eventually, movies. Though slightly outside the peak Golden Age timeline, Cher bridged the old studio system and modern stardom. She earned critical respect with roles in films like Silkwood in 1983 and Mask in 1985, culminating in her Oscar-winning performance in Moonstruck in 1987. Throughout, she faced stereotypes about her heritage, including her distinctive looks that didn't always align with traditional Hollywood beauty norms. By openly embracing her Armenian roots, while also celebrating her mother's mixed European background, Cher highlighted a multifaceted identity rarely seen among big-name actresses. She also showed that a performer could cross boundaries of music, TV, and film without losing authenticity. Her journey, from a quirky 1960s pop star to a respected actress, illustrates the ongoing evolution of Hollywood's acceptance of multi-ethnic personalities. James Dean, English, Irish, German, and rumored Native American. Could a legendary rebel without a cause carry hidden ties to Native American ancestry? James Dean, born in 1931 in Marion, Indiana, is primarily known as an all-American icon, a symbol of youthful rebellion in the 1950s, thanks to films like Rebel Without a Cause in 1955, East of Eden in 1955, and Giant in 1956. While his documented ancestry is mostly English, Irish, and German, there have long been rumors that Dean had some remote Native American roots through his mother's lineage. Whether these rumors hold full truth remains debated, but they reflect how old Hollywood often sidelined or minimized any non-white heritage. Dean's career exploded in a short span, earning him posthumous Oscar nominations. He died tragically in a car crash in 1955, sealing his status as a cultural legend at just 24 years old. While Dean's rumored biracial background didn't play a part in his public narrative, it illustrates the complexity of identity in an era that prized a monolithic idea of Americanness. Even unverified ancestry stories highlight how stars with multi-ethnic or indigenous ties frequently kept such details under wraps. Dean's acting genius and untimely death overshadowed many questions about his heritage, leaving behind a legacy still dissected by fans seeking to understand the multifaceted man behind the rebel persona. Lou Leonard, African-American/European. Could a strong comedic actress remain virtually unknown despite crossing racial lines in uncredited roles? Lou Leonard is not a widely recognized star like Lena Horne or Dorothy Dandridge, but her story mirrors many mixed-race performers who toiled in the background. Born in the late 1920s to an African-American father and a white mother, she possessed features that allowed her to be cast in small comedic parts, without the studio publicly acknowledging her heritage. She landed uncredited roles in comedic shorts and occasionally in television spots throughout the 1950s. With a knack for physical comedy, Leonard often played side characters, like waitresses, landladies, or comedic relief. While she never broke into leading roles, she quietly chipped away at racial barriers by simply existing on set. When asked about her background, Leonard would often deflect or mention a French lineage to avoid being pigeonholed or fired. Her story, though largely unsung, serves as a reminder that the fabric of old Hollywood was woven with countless biracial talents who rarely got top billing. They enabled productions to run smoothly, contributed comedic or musical skill, and slowly opened a space for more visible stars of mixed ancestry. While Leonard's name may have faded from memory, her presence was part of a broader mosaic of boundary breakers. Step and Fetch It, Lincoln Perry. What happens when a performer's controversial on-screen persona overshadows his complex cultural heritage? Born, Lincoln Theodore Monroe. Andrew Perry, in 1902. Step and Fetch It became a household name as one of the first black movie stars, albeit in highly stereotyped roles. There are suggestions that Perry had Creole or other mixed ancestry, though official records are sparse. He gained immense popularity in the 1930s with his comedic, slow-talking, laziest man in the world routine. While Step and Fetch It's roles reinforced damaging stereotypes of African Americans, he also broke ground as a financially successful black actor. He was once called the laziest man in the world on screen, but off-screen, he was an astute businessman who negotiated lucrative deals. In that sense, he shattered certain financial barriers and brought attention to the complexities of black identity in Hollywood. Later generations criticized Perry for perpetuating a demeaning image, yet defenders argue that he operated within a limited system, leveraging comedic tropes to gain unprecedented visibility. The truth is nuanced. As a potential biracial or multi-ethnic performer, Perry inhabited a precarious space, torn between industry demands and personal dignity. His legacy remains controversial, highlighting how actors of color often had to navigate a landscape of harmful representation in order to open doors for those who followed. Esther Ralston, white, Native American. Could a silent film star with hidden indigenous roots maintain a golden girl image during Hollywood's most transitional era? Often called the American Venus, in the 1920s, Esther Ralston rose to stardom through silent comedies and light-hearted romances. While officially recorded as having British and Irish ancestry, rumors swirled that one of her grandmothers possessed Native American heritage, though never publicly confirmed. Studio publicity of the time emphasized her all-American look, ignoring any indigenous roots. Ralston's career flourished in silent films like Peter Pan in 1924, where she portrayed Mrs. Darling. Her transition to sound was relatively smooth, yet the industry's shift in the 1930s left many silent stars behind. She continued acting in smaller roles, eventually retiring in the mid-1940s. If Ralston indeed had partial Native American ancestry, it underscores how studios often erased complex family backgrounds to sell a monolithic star image. Whether fully documented or not, these hidden heritages reveal that old Hollywood was more diverse than it admitted. Ralston's glamorous persona, reinforced by carefully crafted publicity, demonstrated how biracial or multi-ethnic roots were often concealed to maintain a marketable brand, even for someone called the American Venus. Rock Hudson, rumored mixed European, Native American. Could a screen heartthrob with rumored indigenous ties also battle hidden personal struggles beyond race? Born Roy Harold Scherer, Jr., in 1925, Rock Hudson became one of the leading men of the 1950s and 1960s, famous for roles in romantic comedies, opposite Doris Day, and dramatic parts in epics like Giant in 1956. While publicly identified as having English, Irish, and German heritage, some rumors circulated that he also possessed a distant Native American lineage, though this was never confirmed by official records. Hudson's path to stardom involved a carefully managed image: tall, dark, and irresistibly handsome. The studios also orchestrated his personal life, steering him through publicity-driven romances, while keeping his homosexuality secret. Like questions of heritage, any trait that deviated from the all-American male archetype was downplayed or denied. Later in life, Rock Hudson made headlines as one of the first major celebrities to acknowledge an AIDS diagnosis, passing away in 1985. His personal struggles, both with identity and health, symbolize the hidden layers that old Hollywood preferred to keep off camera. Whether the rumors of partial Native ancestry hold any truth, Hudson's story highlights the broader theme. Many stars of the classic era had complex backgrounds that were simplified for public consumption. His lasting fame testifies to both Hollywood's power and its limitations in defining who gets to be an icon. Thank you for watching, and remember, even in an industry that tried to hide or manipulate heritage, the truth of these artists' identities still shines through. They remain a testament to the power of resilience and self-expression, reminding us that representation has always mattered and always will.